Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that way we can get out of
Hey
here.
everyone, this is Grandmaster Ben Final doing a recap of round one of the candidates. Let's look at the most crushing game, Liren White against Jan Nepomniachtchi. They started with a lot of theory and in English, which we've seen recently. And they quickly got to which position? This position. Yeah, both sides played very quickly. After a3, he played rook e8 ostensibly to play bishop f8, but then he didn't do that. After b4, he played the paradoxical pawn sacrifice, knight g4, very suspicious. The engine says, boo, boo, stop sacking a pawn. So we could play knight takes knight and then take on e4 with the bishop. But even though he had 2 or 3 chances to take this e-pawn, he eschewed them all. He said, I don't want to do that. He developed his bishop, which the engine likes. And after queen h5 threatening mate, we were very confused because Ding thought like 20 minutes here. And we were like, did he play knight takes g4 yet? And the answer is no. We thought he would take on g4, then maybe take this pawn on e4. Black has compensation, but the engine still prefers white. But strangely, he never took this pawn until it was too late, and he played h4, a move I would not consider. But the engine says white is still fine. Bishop f6, queen c2, putting more pressure on the pawn, defending his bishop because his knight was pinned. So queen c2 makes sense. Knight e3, de, bishop f5, defending his pawn again. So we have a very strange position where the pawn on h4 is out of place, and later black can play g5 and start an attack, which is eventually what happened. Knight a4. And now in this position, black can play bishop e7, defending the c5 square, or sack a piece with bishop h4. There's a very long think here from Jan, and we thought he was going to sack a piece, then play rook e6. And the engine says it's equal, but it looks like a draw is the least likely result. But instead he just took the bishop on b2. Now the engine wants to play queen takes b2, because then if this knight ever moves from a6 to come back into the game, our knight can go to c5. But he surprised us with knight takes b2. Always retreat. Knight c7, knight c4, rook e6, stopping knight d6 and starting the attack against the white king. Rook f d1, knight d5. And here, white has to play b5 at every available opportunity and try to get counterplay against black's queen side, since black has a ready-made king side attack. But instead he played slowly, rook d4, g5 is a good move now, played h6, which is slow. And instead of doubling up on the bubble up and getting his rook active from a1, which in the end he never moved, played queen d2, allowing g5 again. Rook a8 is an excellent move, showing that white should have activated his rook too. We have to defend this e-pawn. It's white's only counterplay. White thought a long time and played king h2 with the idea of g5, rook h1, g takes, king g1, pinning the pawn. The engine likes black a lot in this position, but Jan shows a different way. After king h2, he played bishop g4, threatening this e-pawn. The problem with rook e1, the obvious way of defending it, is now after g5, we can't play the idea I just showed you with rook h1, king g1, because your e-pawn wouldn't be defended. So he played knight a5, which is a very bad move, ignoring black's attack. In this position, the best move is actually queen c2, attacking this e-pawn again, now that black has undefended his e-pawn. Rook f6, he should just play g5 again. And again, if you play rook f1 and I play g5, you can't play your rook h1 idea because you're busy defending f2. So he correctly played king g1, and now black played g5. And here, white lost his only chance to save the game. Could have played b5. He still has a very bad position, but he has counterplay against the queen side. Take on c6 twice. d5 isn't defended sufficiently in that case. And white has some counterplay against the king. The engine says, I want black, I want black. But instead of b5, white played knight takes b7, and now the engine says white has to resign. Why isn't white resigning? I've never seen a guy not resigning. Thanks for the sub, Jay Groges. Okay, so G takes H4. White has no more counterplay against that knight on D5. Taking the B pawn didn't really help, and black is crashing through. Knight C5, pretending to attack the E pawn. H3. And now we have a tough decision here. For example, bishop H1, double question mark. H2 check, king F1, queen F5, threatening queen F2 mate, and so forth. Mainly and so forth. Bishop F1, also bad. H2 check, king H1, rook takes F2, and the engine says black has forced mate. Black's threatening bishop F3 check because of the pin. Also, if there was no pin, queen takes his mate. So, okay, so we can't really save our bishop. So he played rook takes E4 counterattacking, but that was expertly ignored by Jan. He just took the bishop, always sacked the exchange. Rook takes rook check, king G7, and we have the unstoppable threat of queen H1 check. You may be thinking, I can just take the pawn. Unfortunately, that hangs mate in 4. Rook takes F2 check, king F2, queen H2, king E1 allows queen G1 mate, so king F1, check, and mate. So if you can't play king takes G2, all is lost. According to the engine, F4 is best. F3 is best, I'm sorry. Never play F3. Bishop F3 takes, check. Rook takes check. Queen discovered double, triple check. And queen takes rook, and black is up a queen, so black's winning. Up a queen is good. And the engine announces mate in 6. And that's the best white can do. Instead, white played F4, losing in a shallow and pedantic way. Check, check. And now black is up a piece and has an attack, but instead of winning slowly, Jan finished the game brilliantly with the Shirov-esque bishop H3 check. Obviously, king F2 hangs mate in 1, queen F1 mate. Moving the king up here isn't good. King here allows queen H1 check and the same queen F1 mate. And if you play king H2, I play queen F1 and queen G2 mate. He resigned in this position. After the best move takes, we check, and we play queen H3 with unstoppable queen G4 mate. Also, rook G6 is mate and rook F5 is mate. We can stop those. Stopping this, that's more complicated. So in this position, since it's unavoidable mate, unstoppable mate after bishop H3, Ding resigned. A brilliant game from Jan. Probably could have won even quicker. And not a good game from Ding. Didn't defend very well. Didn't play very actively. With the white pieces, his king was under attack almost the whole game. A crushing win for Jan. And looking good to beat one of the favorites in round 1. Especially with the black pieces. I hope you enjoyed that recap. Keep watching our live stream here on twitch.tv/GM Benjamin Feingold. Watch the videos on YouTube, and we'll be back with more recaps.